What a surprise. You have signed to All Elite Wrestling. How did this all come together? Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I talked to Vince probably about 6 months ago, and I said, man, I really, really want to do more. A Legends deal is not enough. Like for the usage of my name, I was doing a loan out agreement for them to use and license my name, and it was coming up, and I didn't want to resign unless I was going to be working there as an employee. One, for all of the benefits, but
Yeah.
also I knew wrestling and I know wrestling in a way that a lot of people don't, because of the trainers that I've had and the coaches, the time span. I mean, I've been wrestling for 25 years,
Mhm.
and I had the best people the whole time. I didn't come up on the indie scene, which is no uh, disrespect to the indie scene, because I scout and watch the indie scenes more than I do mainstream wrestling.
Yeah.
Um, but we had that conversation, and he said, "Well, write it up. What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Man, I want to do educational programming. Like, I want to do community involvement. I want to be on the writing staff. I want to, be an agent." He was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what?" He said that's like 5 jobs. I said, "But I've been doing all of this already
Yeah.
for free. Like, nobody paid me. I did it at least the last 12 years, and I feel like that I had to brag on myself for the first time in my career, and I never
Mhm.
did that before. I never said, man, like, I had to lie to get Daniel Bryan here. I brought in Braun Strowman. Oops. I,
Well, we'll unpack that for sure. Wait, what is the situation with Brian? Roll that back.
I saw Daniel Bryan at an indie show in Canada, and I was in Montreal, and I was like, damn, that dude's good. And I could tell that he was carrying the guy that he was working with. He made his ass look good.
Was it
So I
Sami
was
Zayn?
like,
I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
I don't know who the guy was, but Daniel was carrying him.
Mhm.
And they said Brian Danielson. So then I went back and I found him on social media, and I reached out to him and I said, "Hey man, I saw your match against so and so Charlie," and he was like, "Oh man, thanks. It wasn't one of my best ones," and I was like, "It was pretty good to me." I was like, "I want you to come to a camp," and he was like, "Yeah, for who?" Because I didn't introduce myself.
Ah.
And I said, "I want you to come to a camp down in Tampa." And he's like, "Oh, for WWE?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Man, I'm Mark Henry." He said, "No, you're not." And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And I got his information and I passed it on to Johnny Ace. And Johnny, "Oh, how big is he?" And I was
Oh
like,
my.
"Oh, he like 6 feet, 6'1", about 200 pounds."
Big guy. Big guy.
I just I just lied through my teeth because I knew that they wanted bigger guys.
Mhm.
And he said, "Well, we'll bring him in." And once I transferred the information, boom, they started doing all of the scouting. I never touched him again. I never said
Yeah.
nothing until um, he ended up in FCW, and here we are. Hall of
Yeah.
Fame guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I brought in Rich Swan and Uha, or Apollo Cruz,
Mhm.
and I just started, like, it was a bunch of guys. I was mentoring Baron Corbin. I saw Braun Strowman at a strongman show, and I was like, "Man, your personality is wrestling. You got to quit doing strongman." He was like, "I want to be champion."
Be a champ
The
somewhere else,
most
dude.
money I ever made lifting was under 100 grand in a year, and I was
Yeah.
the best in the world, bro. I was like, you need to come over to wrestling, And it took him 2.5 years, but he finally called me back and said, "Hey, man, you think you can still get me into wrestling?" I said, "Hell yeah." I was like, I called Vince. I said, "Hey, remember that monster I was telling you about?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "He ready. Send him on." And I just been doing that. I don't work in talent relations. I don't work in the whole recruiting process. I didn't get paid for none of that. I did it because I wanted to, and I
Mhm.
love Canyon Seaman. Canyon did a really good job. Um, he took me to the Olympics with him. He took me to the World's Strongest Man contest. We scouted at the this is not having a senior moment at the Arnold Classic.
The senior
Like
moment.
all of these places that we went to scout
Hmm.
high level talent, and I would support him if he called me tomorrow and said, "Hey man, I need a hookup." I know he works for the WWE. He's still my brother. I'm going to help him.
Yeah, of course. No, he's a great dude. And yeah, I mean, you look at all the people that have come in through him, through yourself. Okay, so you have that conversation with Vince, and then things just aren't going the way that you want them to
It's
go
just
with
not
him.
going. I wrote it up. He told me, to talk to Brad Blum, and I spoke to Brad, and I had to come to Jesus with him. I was like, "Look, man, like I'm not going to sign a loan out agreement using my name, and I'm not working here. Like
Yeah.
I got to get a job, man. I got kids."
Yeah. Keith Slater, take
That
that.
man, Jacob is eating me out of house and home. Just him
Yeah.
eating, I needed another job.
Honestly.
So they came back, and Johnny had took Carano got released, and Johnny took that over talent relations again, and Johnny called me. And
Hmm.
I wasn't expecting Johnny to call me. I was expecting Brad Blum or Vince to call me and say, "Hey, we still doing cuts and we still or whatever," and something to that effect. And I pretty much had made up my mind from when Johnny called me that um, that was them telling me no, and that's the way it was going to be. It wasn't going to get better from that point. So I called Tony, and because I've been friends with Tony for a long time before AEW was even born.
Yeah.
Because of
He used
Jacksonville,
to
I had
come around all
friends.
the time. Oh, you've got friends everywhere for one.
Well, I'm connected. I'm a
You're
connections
connected.
guy.
Yeah, you are.
And one of their best players that they drafted, Tony Brackens, is a friend of mine. Like
Mhm.
like that's like my brother. And I came to Jacksonville and watched practice and went to games and all kind of stuff. And so I knew Tony. And Tony's a big wrestling fan. So we would talk wrestling for a while, and then we would talk football. And so we talk football more than anything. But I finally got to the point to where if I was ever going to do something at executive role, or if I was going to be an employee of a wrestling company, I was going to have to leave home. I was going to have to leave WWE. And I considered that to be home for
Yeah.
25 years. And, home is not, where you are, is who's there.
Hmm.
And, so now I had to leave, and, I'm establishing a new home.
How was it coming to terms with that? Like I mean, I'm sure you and Show must have talked about that a ton. Talk about him making his leap over to AEW. I mean, even conversations amongst your family. Like, how were those conversations for you to like mentally get to that point that you were ready to jump ship?
I had been loyal because I had companies offer me more money in the early middle 2000s, and I never went. And Vince knew I didn't go, and we talked, and Vince knew my loyalty. There was troubles that you know I never talked about because it wasn't pertinent to talk about it, and I had got over whatever troubles that there were. Um, but I came to grips with it pretty easily because I knew I did all the right things. I never disrespected him. I never disrespected the business.
Hmm.
Um, I honored my coworkers, like the people that I wrestled. Like nobody can say anything bad about Mark.
Never.
I did it right. And I said, well, me leaving means that I'm going to have to reestablish a new legacy. And I was wrong because my wife brought up the fact. She's like, "You're wrestling is wrestling, regardless of where you are. Like, if you leave, then you just take everything you know and learned, and you go and you share it with those kids." And I was like, "Well, if you comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with it," and we made the move.
Hell yeah. How exciting. Like, okay, so once you had talked to Tony and decided like, hey, I'm coming in, and now you're what exactly is your role within AEW going to be?
I'm a Swiss Army knife. I'm getting paid to be Mark Henry. Like
Finally,
everything that
right? That's
comes
nice.
everything that comes with it. I'm going to be doing educational programming. I'm going to be doing community involvement. I want the city of Jacksonville to love this company like they love the football team. That don't exist here.
Right.
Um, I'm going to coach. I guess coaching is explaining psychology, and we use a term on Busted Open called tightening the screws. AEW is not broken. Like they're good. They got people already that live and die for them.
Mm-hmm.
But there are little problems that come up with fine tuning. And even master guitarists and master pianists, they have to tune their equipment every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a job that I have here. I want to be a mentor and lead by example. I My 25 years, I never got uh, a negative thing about me. There was no drug issues, no alcoholism, no beating your wife, no showing up on TMZ for robbing somebody. I
You've
lived
always
an
been on the straight and
exemplary life
narrow.
for a pro
Yeah.
wrestler.
Yeah, of
And
course.
we all know the wrestling stories. Golly, boy, we've
Sure
done it all.
do.
We've done
Oh
it
my
all. Dark
gosh.
side of the ring. That's all I'm gonna say.
Dark
Uh,
Side of the Ring, all these documentaries. I mean, how can you like unglue your eyes from that? You're like, holy
and I told Vince, I was like, man, like I hope you don't have any ill will or negative feeling. He said, Mark, he said, I know you're gonna be great at whatever you do. He's like, you approach things from a point of not wanting to fail, as opposed to wanting to have success. And those people always do good. I just can't do it right now.
yeah.
And I said, well, I appreciate you being honest with me because um, if I was to sit around and wait, I don't think that nobody beneath you is going to call me and tell me straight up what it is
Yeah.
because I think some people are fearful that I'm going to be better at their jobs than they are, which I probably would. And I don't doubt for 1 second that I am.
Yeah.
So I want the wrestlers around I'm not to understand. I'm not going to come from a place of you're going to do it. You're going to do it my way, and I'm not that guy. You know who I am.
Hmm.
My point of contention is there are guys that are over. They like your husband.
He's all right.
I'm not going to tell him what to do. If he has a question for me, I'm going to answer it and give him my opinion, and I'm going to give him an example of how it will work because that's what my experience has done. It's given me a broader world of where to go and how to get there, and that's what I want to teach all these guys, and it comes from studying. So there's going to be a new culture added to what they already have of young people watching 1950s, 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s wrestling till you're sick of it and then watch it again. And you'll find things that fit you. And once you find those things, everybody knows how to wrestle. Okay, with the exception of one or two. But everybody knows how to wrestle. But when and where you do stuff is what makes you great. And they've only been around for less than 2 years. How do you expect them to know everything? I know they don't know. I mean, I think of stuff in passing and I go, oh my God, that would be so good if so and so did. Shit, I don't work for them. But now when I watch, because I watch 17 hours of wrestling a week
Ooh,
to bust it open.
good
I watch
God.
every program in the country and New Japan.
Good for you. Wow.
And so when people ask me and Dave what makes us the authority on what's going on in the wrestling world, I challenge anybody to be able to sit in front of me and Dave LaGreca and outwit us when it comes to what's going on in the world of wrestling.